welcome back to the Messy Friendship Lessons podcast. Woo! I am joined by the amazing, the beautiful, the kind, the great. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Arola Ajegbe, and I am Thomason's cousin and lifelong bestie, and we're going to be getting into some things.
Our podcast title for today is I Still Want to See You Eat, Just Not at My Table. I'm going to quickly explain to people what that means. So, have you ever been in a friendship and you're just like, I'm not feeling it anymore? There's nothing that you've necessarily done that is like so bad, like you haven't betrayed me or there isn't something sinister there, but me and you, it's just not working anymore. And so I love you, but I can't do this. And that is essentially what it was. I still want the best for you. I still want to see you eat, just not in my life, just not on my table. What do you think, Carola?
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, I can definitely relate to this topic. That's why we chose to speak about this together. And I mean, I'll get into it a bit more further along. But for me, sometimes it can even like include a betrayal or a situation where I feel betrayed, but they feel they didn't betray me. Or like, you know, where there might sort of be in good intentions and I know they have a good heart, but they still really hurt me. And that just didn't translate into their actions. So for me, there are just so many different scenarios and personal experiences I have that, you know, have led to my general feeling of I still wanted to see you eat, but not on my table.
Not on my table says, shout out, guys. Please follow this podcast on Spotify or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, follow on our podcast. We're also on Instagram, we're on TikTok. You know, guys, show me some love. Show some support.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play a little hot takes game first. Okay? It works like this. I say a friendship hot take. You vote yay or nay. You say one. I vote yay or nay. Maybe our guests can let us know how they feel. They can also vote yay or nay. But yeah, I will go first. I usually let my guests go first, but I'm really excited about mine because I used to say this all the time and I still say this. So my friendship hot take is if they gossip about everyone to you, they gossip about you to everyone. Yay or nay?
Yeah, I think you've definitely told me that one before. And to be honest, it's something I feel like it's a hot take, but it's quite a popular one, I think. Like, it's something I've heard a lot. I'd say for the most part, yay. Like, I would say 9 times out of 10, yay. And maybe the rare occasions where it's nay. But
like when it's like your bestie and you're like dragging people, but you don't drag each other? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I feel like I know the relationships in my life where I feel like this person and I just have really like standard unquestionable loyalty to each other. So one of my best friends, we would love a good like gossip. But honestly, I feel like also when you say gossip, like it means different things to different people, you know? Yeah. I'm sorry. My mind is like very sort of like analytical, so I like to like dig deep into like every word.
You're like, what do you mean by gossip? Yeah, what do you mean by everyone?
Like, what, yeah, I'm always asking all these like existential questions, like what even is the meaning of what we're speaking? But I think I know because, you know, Thomason and I, we've both been in boarding school, we've both had sisters, and I've just been, I don't know, around a lot of girls. I mostly have friendships with girls also anyway. That's why I'm speaking about this. And I know for a lot of people, gossiping can be just like very catty and ill-intentioned and just spreading like negative vibes and very negative energy. And for some people, it's like, oh my God, like, you know, did you see what so-and-so posted in the story last night? Okay, and it's just sort of like, it's still talking about other people behind their back, but it's not saying anything bad about them. It's not malicious. And it's just like, oh, you know, did you see they went to this restaurant? Oh my God, like, oh, they saw this skirt that, they have the skirt that I've been wanting for so long. And it's, you know, it's, yeah.
When I think gossip, I agree with you on that kind of thing. I see the other one as spreading information. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's gossip. I see gossip as the more malicious one, but I get what you're saying. It has multiple definitions. What I'm saying is if someone is so malicious and mean and says nasty stuff about like everyone you guys know, so every time they're with you, that's all the topic of conversation is.
Yeah.
I just feel like, rest assured, when you're not there and they're with other people, they are doing the same thing. And I've seen it so many times. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen to my friends where I'm like, oh my gosh, at uni, my friend introduced me to this girl. Lovely. Everyone got on with her. The minute another girl that we are friends with wasn't there, she dragged them. Then my friend wasn't there one time and I was with the other girl she dragged. And then she dragged my friend in front of me. So I was like, whoa.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
I've also been in those situations. And what you said before, like a minute ago, where it's like, if that's the only thing you talk about, I think for me, that's like one of the major red flags. You can't build like a substantial and meaningful friendship solely based off speaking about other people. I think at some age, it's like, you know, okay, you're teenagers, you have like nothing better to do with your time, but we are grown adults right now, and I don't stand for that. That's not the energy I want in my life.
And if you're a teenager listening to this, get grown, girl. Drop some philosophies. Anyway, what's your hot take?
14 going on 29.
What's your hot take?
Goodness. I actually didn't know like how hot my hot take was, so I have one and then I have a backup one in case that's not like controversial enough or something. So mine is, a friend can be a good person but not good for you.
Ooh, I like that one.
You like it?
I'm gonna vote yeah. Very strong yeah. Actually.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strong yeah. They can be a good person. Explain what you mean by that, because I have like an understanding in my head straight away. But
yeah, and I think like the friends I feel this way about, that's why I also like want to see them in it, even though it's just not at my table. But because I know like deep down they are good people, I still have no ill wishes towards them, and I wish them the best, and I want to see them succeed. And also, not everyone is compatible.
Yes.
You know? And I've learned that a lot. And sometimes I want to hold into friendships because I so desperately see all the good qualities in you, and I just see so much light and good energy, and that's what attracted me to you in the first place, and that's what made me want to be friends with you. But I realized like good intentions is not always enough. Love is not always enough. And at the end of the day, you're just not good for me. You're not what I need in my life. Yeah.
Agreed. I love this little hot take. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table. Can you tell us about a time where you ended a friendship, but you wanted to maintain a positive relationship with this person? How did you handle the situation? And what steps did you take to maintain a cordial relationship? I'll let you go first.
I was thinking about this a lot, which again ties into what I was saying just before the hot takes. I like question everything, you know, so deeply. But honestly, I don't think I've ever ended a friendship and wanted to maintain a positive relationship with them. For me, ending a friendship means that there is no relationship, whether it's positive or negative or whatever, there's none. Yeah. And, you know, it's what people say, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, or it's apathy. So for me, when I don't want to be friends with someone, even if I, you know, have no ill wishes towards you, I'm not seeking to still have you in my life, right? You know? But wanting to see someone eat, just not at my table, means I have nothing but well wishes for them, but I don't want them in my life anymore. And I wish them the best far away from me. Okay. What about you?
Fair. I think when I thought of cordial relationship, I was thinking more like think of like the hi, bye, like, oh, hey, like, you're good? Okay, cool, bye. Like, I'm not trying to sit down and talk to you, but at the same time, if I walk past you in the street, I would be like, you. Like, I don't know that person. That's kind of what I mean. Whereas I feel like if it ended because of something really bad, I don't know if I saw you in the street, I'd be like, oh, are you? I would, you know. But in terms of ending a friendship and maintaining it, I don't think I've ever like sat someone down and gone, I don't want to be your friend anymore. But I think and I don't know if this is healthy or bad, but I'm generally someone who does the fizzle out. So like, not that I'll suddenly stop talking to you one day, but once I reach that decision of like, oh, this isn't for me, if I reflect on the past, I'll usually like, if they text me to hang out, I'll be like, oh no, sorry, like, don't want to do this day, or like, I don't want to do that, or I'm not interested in that. I just let it fizzle out by limiting our interactions and like how much we talk or whatever it is, or like if you're always calling me before, I'd be like, oh, I can't call anymore. Not in
Will you tell them why?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if this is a necessarily healthy way. I think I would act differently now, and we'll get onto that. But if I reflect on the times I've done it, I know I think I would just let it fizzle out. I don't want to be a friend anymore because I think we're not really compatible anymore, and I don't like X, Y, Z. But it's not you, it's me. Like I don't know how to do that in a way that doesn't sound very HRy at the time. So I would just let it, fizzle out. At least that's in my experience. That's how I handle those type of situations.
It's been a big thing, I think, with our generation, with Gen Z, and just on social media. Speaking to friends like HR, and I think it's that thing where people don't know the appropriate sort of like compromise or the appropriate space between like just keeping someone at a distance and never actually giving them a reason, and just letting them come up with all these things in their head about why you're moving different now, versus speaking to them like they're your employee. But again, I think it's one of those things that comes with age and growth and maturity, just learning to have those conversations, because I would much personally anyway, because I'm just a very like straight upfront, get to the point kind of person. I would much rather someone say to me, oh, I don't actually want to hang out with you anymore. I don't want to speak on the phone as much because I don't want to be as close to you anymore. I just don't think we're compatible. I would rather have that. And then I can have my like little grieving process for however long as I need, and then I can move on. And there are billions of people in the world. I can make other friends. But I think when there's that uncertainty, you're like in an unhealthy limbo, because are you in, are you out of my life? Like, what's going on? It's stuck in this very weird place in between.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Which is why, even on reflecting on it, I'm like, I don't know if it was necessarily what I would do now if I had to end a friendship. Yeah. So my next question would be, is ending the friendship always the first choice once you've realized you've grown apart or now differ from a friend? I'm going to say no. And I can't lie, before, it used to always be my first choice. I used to be like, ooh, I'm going to, like, not friendship ick, because I think it's a bit deeper than that. But I'm like, oh, like, I don't like a lot of things that have happened, or I think we're just on different paths. I don't like the way you move now, or there are things I was okay with before that I'm not okay with now, or there's something you've done that revealed a side to you that really conflicts with mine. I think now I would say it shouldn't be the first choice. I think you should think about why. Like, what is it that is? Like, is it what you like to do? Is it your beliefs? Is it distance? Is it more about you not liking change? Do you know what I mean? I think analyze that first before you decide that there's nothing left for the friendship. Because I think depending on what it is, you can then decide your course of action. For me, an example of when I wouldn't jump to it being first is if it's about the things we like to do. Because I think you can actually just sit down with someone and be like, hey, when they next invite you, I don't know, if they like to, I'm trying to think of a good example. At least for myself, I'm not really a big club anymore, okay? So if someone's like, hey, let's go clubbing, and let's think we only ever did that together, I think it's very simple as to be like, oh, like, I'm not really into that anymore. Do you get, but I still want to hang out with you. I have so much love for you. We've spent so many years together. Do you want to do this or do you want to do that? You might find that your friend is really receptive to that. Like, no one is completely like stuck in one way. And if they are, fine, then you can go about that how you will. But I think if it's a difference in what you like to do, having a conversation can actually make it such a non-issue, whereas it can be such a huge issue in your head if you're like, oh, I don't like going coming in more, they're always asking me in, like, I don't even know what to do, like, we've never hung out outside of there, whatever. But I think if we disagree on a fundamental belief or a viewpoint on our life, and it's like so starkly different, like we're going in completely different directions, then I think I would think about ending the friendship as the first port of call for growing apart. Because I definitely think you should embrace those who think differently, but because you and your friend don't have to agree on anything. But just because you respect someone's difference in opinion doesn't mean they have to be your friend. Do you get what I mean? You can be like, okay, I can respect you think that way, but that doesn't mean they have to stay your friend.
For sure.
I think in true friendship there's common ground. So for me, that would be something that would be, I still want to see you eat. I love you. I can respect that, but you can't be at my table anymore at all. So what about you?
Yeah, so I'm just rereading it again. So is ending the friendship always the first choice once you realize you've grown apart from or now differ from a friend? For me, the answer is definitely no as well. Maybe it might have been yes when I was much younger. But for now, it's a clear 100% guaranteed no, it's not the first choice. And I think, we also go through so many different seasons of life. And I'm also a huge introvert. I love being by myself. I love my alone time. And I'd say generally I'm a pretty low maintenance friend. And I don't know, for me, I can't be like, oh my God, I hate change because my life is all about change. I've lived in 3 different continents, like nothing ever stays the same. Even with my health and my body, so much has changed in my life over the past 2 months and versus even over the past 5 years. Like change is the only constant guaranteed thing in life, I feel. So I don't end friendships unless there has been a huge betrayal for me or like a pattern of mistreatment or their values no longer align with mine.
Right.
And I'm very serious about my values and the things I believe in. But I think growing apart or different from friends is so natural, and I don't take that as a sign of a doomed or dying friendship. And again, for me, the quality of the conversations and the quality of the bond I have with people is so much more important to me than the quality of how often we speak or how often we see each other. And because I've moved around and I've lived in so many different places, I have friends all over the world, and I haven't seen some of my friends in years. And I think also just having a strong foundation is so important in friendships and just building that bond and again, like you said, common ground, and I think just really strong love. And because my friendships, I feel like, are so deep and so important to me, I absolutely would not end them at the first sign of difficulty in them. And I also don't believe in walking away from someone at the first sign of difficulty in any relationship, because I feel like real friends don't just stick around, for the days that are full of sunshine and rainbows and when you're young and you're partying and you're having so much fun and everything is just, peaches and sunshine. I think real friends can also weather thunderstorms together and everything in between. And the most turbulent and traumatic times of my life have shown me who my true friends are, for sure. And when you literally have marriage vows and you're in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, I feel like that's the same with all kinds of close, intimate, personal relationships, and my friendships are like that. So yeah, I just think all friendships require patience, love, support, compromise, and understanding. So I would definitely talk things out with people. And just put in that effort, it's like a plant. It needs all the things it needs, whether it's, light and water and just whatever. You have to literally like grow your relationships that way and be very intentional about it. So I wouldn't just walk away from a friend the minute that I feel like, you know, our lives are starting to be different or I feel some distance between us.
Right. What advice would you give someone then when they feel that?
I think it really just depends. Like these situations can, you know, each one is so specific and it really varies. You know, growing apart in terms of like hobbies versus growing apart in terms of like fundamental values, you know, and things like that, or just how often you speak to each other. I think my number one tip would definitely to be just have an open, honest conversation and tell the other person how you're feeling. And also just do some reflection by yourself. I feel like I am a very self-aware person because I spend so much time alone and I'm always like delving so deep into who I am as a person, why I do the things I do, why I say the things I say, and all of that. And I know what kind of differences that in friendships are healthy for me, you know, because you also don't want yes men and you don't want clones. Mm-hmm. You want like people, you know, variety really is the spice of life. You want people that like just bring new, fun, fresh, interesting energy into your life. But there also has to be that common ground, and you can't be friends with someone if you don't agree on anything at all, especially the things most important to you.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, take some time alone by yourself and reflect and, you know, think about like in what ways is this person's sort of like personality compatible with mine, and are they in the ways that it matters most to me? And if, you know, we're sort of like growing apart, maybe it's time to sit them down and have a conversation and be honest about how I feel.
I agree. Lovely. So on that, my next question is, how do you think one can approach ending a friendship in a respectful and compassionate way rather than letting it end on a negative note? So I think I was talking about the drift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily know if the drift is respectful and compassionate, but I think if it's mutual, if the drift is mutual, mm-hmm. like you're just generally mutually drifting away, mm-hmm. then it's really not that deep. I don't think I now have to pull you back and sit down and we both be like, why have we drifted?
I think a mutual drift is so different to like icing someone out, or, you know, person A making the conscious choice that I'm going to detach myself from person B, and person B isn't reciprocating that energy. If anything, they're like trying to close out work on the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say the one-sided drift, I don't think is respectful and compassionate. And I think that's how I navigated it in the past. But then in advising people, I don't want to advise you to do it in a HR or a creepy way, or like as if it's like a 10-year relationship when it's not that. It's just like, especially if it's a casual friendship, but you've decided, no. So like my most recent wanting to end, like I still want to see you, just not on my table. I was very, very extremely close to this girl at uni. She was just one of my uni friends. It wasn't actually my best friend, but we bonded so closely. The issue was she would repeat things I told her to other people, and sometimes in a way that would make me look bad. And I was like, I didn't know if it was malicious or she was loose-lipped, but we spoke about it the first time it happened. We spoke about it the second time it happened. The third time it happened, I didn't want to talk about it again. It was like, I love you. I still have so much love for you because we spent, like, I feel like we bonded in such an intimate way, but I can't have you at my table in my life because you're too loose-lipped. You can't have somebody around you who is basically going to share everything you tell them, or worse, paint you in a negative light.
Yeah, but I think that's so different because, you know, like you just mentioned, you talked about it the first time it happened, talked about it the second time it happened. I think for me, when the drift is so toxic, it's when you don't even bother to bring it up one time. You just see like, oh, red flag, bye, I'm gone. But, you know, if you've like actually expressed your discomfort over their behavior, then that is healthy communication. That is you like actually given the friendship a chance.
Fair. But the thing is, in speaking of like when you were like person B is trying,
Yeah.
I didn't the third time it happened, I didn't recognize, like I didn't alert her to like you've done it again.
Mm-hmm.
I just started to drift. So she'd like text me. We had this plan to like do this like meetup thing. And she's like, "Oh, are we doing it?" And I was like, "Oh no, like I'm not interested in doing that anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go into depth of like why I don't want to do our plan anymore. But I was like, "Yeah, we're not hosting that thing together anymore. Like that's not happening."
So wait, what happened? Is it your mutual friends told you that she'd repeated something to them?
Right. Yes. So it all then transpired in that conversation that she was actually feeding that information in that negative light and drumming up issues to be bigger than they were. I knew I wanted to end that friendship. And it wasn't like I felt particularly hurt. I was just like, I don't like the way you speak. That was all it was. I don't like how the way you speak so loosely. I think now, I would have had that final conversation with her and be like, I've told you 2 times before this has happened. I really don't like this. I don't think we can be close anymore. I think that's really what I would do.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's such a tough one, especially when you feel like the issue is reoccurring over and over again. And honestly, her intentions might not have been bad, and also like it's a strange thing, but I feel like if you feel like what I want in friendship is being able to have that like trust, and you feel that you don't have that in your relationship, then you can't be friends with them.
Yeah.
Someone actually like did that to me a few years ago, in terms of just like, you know, just stuffing my friend out of the blue for no reason whatsoever, no conversation, no like grievances, and nothing whatsoever. And it was very, very weird and so painful. And it definitely, like at the time, it felt like, you know, one of the most cruel things someone could do to me, because there's definitely like that sting, that like rejection, that abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I'm someone that like, I always want to know why. I want to know the reason for everything, period. And you know, I'm trying to get some closure, and they like apologized profusely and said they were in the wrong, and said I hadn't done anything, but then didn't give me a reason. And I don't know, the whole situation was very, very weird. And honestly, like with that girl, I've shared so much love, so many memories with her, and she really like was like family to me. So yeah, I mean, if I saw her anywhere, I'd be like a hello, hi. Like it's just that, like, she kind of cut me off for no reason and then apologized, but didn't give a reason and didn't make any effort to mend the friendship. So I think for me, the friendship's over. It is what it is. There's no bad blood. Like, do I think how you treated me was nice? No. Do I think you're a bad person? Also, no. And I mean, I unfollowed her just because I was like, I don't really like want to see pictures of you on my timeline, on my feed. Like, I just like, you know, you made the choice to walk out of my life, to just leave completely. Like, I don't want any reminder of this. And then I just want to be able to grieve and my grieving process, and what's done is done. I don't want to have to keep revisiting and reopening old wounds. And if I saw them, yeah, I'd say hi, but like that's it. Like, there's nothing really to talk about because there's no relationship there. But what I would say is, when I was thinking about my answers to this question, I'd say for sure communicate. Like, communication is key all around. And I'd say don't let like tension and negative feelings linger without ever expressing them, because then they're eventually going to grow to resentment and bitterness. And what was like this tiny seed is like now this whole full on
oak tree.
Yeah, oak tree. And you can't hide it, you can't ignore it. It's the elephant in the room. It's too big to pretend like it doesn't exist. And I'd tell your friends aren't going through this and would know if or how they have upset or offended you if you don't tell them. And I will also say, if someone has done something to you and you feel like you can't forgive them, or you need some more time to forgive them, then just like walk away from the friendship until you're ready to, you know?
I agree.
It's like how people say, like, if your partner cheats on you and you decide to stay in the relationship, you can't keep bringing it up and lording it over them over and over again, because like it's not fair. But and of course it's absolutely your prerogative, and what I think is the wisest decision, to just walk away.
Same. But at least
Once someone betrays you.
Yeah.
In cheating, I feel like in any major form of betrayal, when someone betrays your trust, just walk away. But you know, when you have that attachment to someone and your lives are like so intertwined, it's so hard to walk away. Like for me, this friendship breakup were literally like sisters, and you know, like in the movies when you're like breaking up with someone and then you have to like pack like all these like big boxes with their things in it. It literally was like that. I had to go like pick up all my we didn't live together, but all her stuff was at mine, all my stuff was at hers, because we sleep over all the time. We'd get ready in each other's rooms, in each other's like flats or houses, and like everything. Like I had clothes, books, stuff at hers. She had to pick up Tupperware from my kitchen. Like, you know, other things was just like literally everywhere. Like it literally felt like it was a friendship breakup, but it was worse than some romantic breakups I've ever had.
I think that's the thing.
Her lives were so intertwined, and the friendship was so deep. If it was a casual friendship, I would not have bothered, you know, even breathing life into it. But I was like, this girl is like my sister, and you've betrayed me, and you've hurt me so much. And I wouldn't, if it was anyone else, I wouldn't give them a second chance. But with you, I've given you like 5 chances, and you don't even see the wrong in what you've done, or you try to excuse it. And it's, oh my God, it was so weird. And for me, what started off as a seed really became this big oak tree, because I tried to like gaslight myself into believing I could forgive something that I really just felt was unforgivable at the time, because you like crossed a major line, and there's no going back from then. So for me, I would say like communication, and just, you know, if you feel like things have gone to the point of no return, then just end the friendship there and then. Like, don't go resentful, because once you go resentful in any relationship, it's so hard to kind of come back from that. And I would say like boundaries again are so important. You have to set your boundaries and respect your boundaries, and respect and honor their boundaries too. And let them know what you will and you will not stand for, and like express that to them, because sometimes just like putting those boundaries in place and maybe like slightly changing the dynamic of your friendship to like, you know, suit what these new boundaries are. It's all that's needed, instead of like, you know, completely ending a friendship. Don't burn a bridge you would ever want to mend in the future. If you think like we can't be friends at this time, but maybe like when the timing and circumstances are different, we could rekindle our relationship in the future, then don't let it get bitter. Don't let it get ugly, because then there's no chance of saving it again. And yeah, this just involves like nasty back and forth, so bad mouthing them to other people that you both know. And just remember that it takes 2 to tango. Like, it's easier to see the faults and shortcomings in other people sometimes than in ourselves. So do some self-reflection and be aware of the role that you played through the friendship and maybe the end of the friendship, and take accountability for your own actions, and know when to say I'm sorry, know when to, you know, just like check yourself and be like, oh, actually I could have been a much better friend in this situation, in this way. I could have shown up better for you in this way. And, you know, I think most times when relationships end, it's not, of course there are exceptions, and sometimes one person is solely at fault, but a lot of times it's like a combination of where both people messed up, you know, in different ways.
I agree with that. It's rarely ever super black and white.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to ask you, can you provide any tips for moving on from a friendship while also holding on to positive memories and lessons learned from the relationship? So for me, I think, at least in my quote unquote adult life, this includes uni, there are 2 friendships that I had to move on from where there was still so many positive memories. I think the biggest one was near the end of uni. One of the girls really, really hurt someone I was extremely close to. But where the conflict came was the girl who did the hurting, and she did something messed up, like really messed up. She was really there for me when I went through something like very traumatic for the first time at uni. And she really, surprisingly, I didn't expect it from her, but she really held my hand throughout that process, where I thought other people would, but they didn't. And I don't hold any ill will towards that now. But because of that, I grew such a close bond with this person, and I had so much love for them, and I was so appreciative of like how they like really uplifted me, or like were waiting outside the hospital in the cold because of COVID for me during that time. The only issue was when it then transpired, they really hurt someone I cared about. It was like, I can't, in good conscience, maintain a solid, close friendship with you with what you've done. And if I continue to be super close with you, I run the risk of losing this other person who, like, is like a best friend to me, right? And so I then had to kind of navigate again, ending that friendship, not, but in a way that it's not as close as it ever was. We don't even talk now, right? But it's not like in a bad, because there's so much love there, but I still wanted to see her eat, but she couldn't be at my table because someone who is a main part of my table would have felt so uncomfortable if I kept her there. Like, as much as I think if I saw her again, or if I was in the same place that she was, like I would meet up with her. But if I was to host an event, I wouldn't be like, oh, she has to be on the guest list, right? That kind of thing. And so I had to then end that. And that was hard for me because I was holding on to those positive things. And I was like, oh, am I betraying this person? Like, they were really there for me. Like, am I being a bad person in this scenario? But then I was like, what they've done is so shady. Like, it's really bad. If I then say I'm gonna stay friends with them, I'm okaying that behavior. And who's not to say they can't turn around and do the same thing to me? Like, let's also, recognize that. And so for that, I had to not let the positive feelings or holding on to that mean that I stay in a place that could be harmful for me, but also harmful for someone I really care about. So I think move on, end it. Don't hold on so much to positive feelings that you stay. I can't lie, that one was really hard for me. The second one was over like the whole BLM thing. I had a friend who, why am I laughing? I'm like, I do this all the time, Rolla. No, I had a friend
Oh my God.
who, it was a conversation about something racially, like that. I was just appalled about the stance and the position that they took. And for me, it was like, she's been such a good friend to me for years and years and years. Like, this one was like a deep friendship. And at that moment, I had to end it over that because I was like, you're fundamentally disagreeing with something that is so essential to who I am as a person. And I mean, I've forgiven her now. And again, it's like I still want good for her, but because she came back and apologized and it was a whole thing. But yeah, I think in terms of moving on, you just have to acknowledge those positive things, but also remember why you wanted to end the friendship and surround yourself with your other friends. I'm hoping if you don't have other friends, then surround yourself with things that make you happy, whether it's reading, watching stuff, whatever. But that's how I would suggest moving on while still acknowledging like the positives. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, I relate and I've had so many sort of like similar situations and friendships like that. In the first circumstance, what you said of your friend and someone you had a good friendship with, but, had, like done something so messed up to another of your closest friends. And I genuinely I don't know, I'm just such a ride or die. And for me, like, with my friendships, loyalty is not something that you ever have to ask for me is just a given, you know. And I was in that situation, but I wasn't you in that situation. The you in that situation was the ex-friend I'm no longer friends with, because what she did was continue to maintain the relationship. And not with just one, but with two people who had done two very unquestionably, terribly, morally repugnant, awful, discriminatory, abusive things to me.
Right.
And I go, like, again, it was, I mean, also I'm so sentimental, and when people are really there for me, I don't take it for granted, and I love her so much, and in so many ways, you know, she was an amazing friend to me. And I feel like our friendship was great in so many ways because we both really, really showed up for each other. And when I needed her, she was there for me, no questions asked. When she needed me, I was there for her, no questions asked. And we were really like each other's support system and gave so much to each other. And again, the people that she decided to maintain relationships with, those were like acquaintances, those were like very distant friends. Those were not the people, you know. If you're going through something severe, whether it's with your health or your family or something really serious, that you're gonna like call up and toy and be like, I need you, and then you're gonna like show up, you know, immediately. Those were not those sort of people for her. So I feel like the fact that she was willing to lose me as a friend against someone that was a very integral, like, main part of her table for people that weren't, I thought that that said a lot. And I also feel like at the end of the day, even though we have so many amazing memories and you've done so many good things for me and I've done so many good things for you, I can't like look at you and be like, you know, I'm proud to say that you're my friend, because I'm not. Because whether directly or indirectly, you've condoned some really disgusting, horrible behavior. Mm-hmm. And I can't have that energy in my life. And even if you did that to someone else, I wouldn't tolerate it. But the fact that you did that to me, like, that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. That is like a stab in the back on a whole other level. Yeah. So,
but do you still want to see her eat?
I do want to see her eat, but yeah, definitely not at my table, far away from me. Like
at the back.
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of those very mixed things, you know, because I can recognize the times when she was a great friend to me, but unfortunately that just doesn't outweigh what she did to me, because I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. So the fact that you could do that to one of your best friends, hell, I wouldn't want to know what you would do to the people you would hate. Like, I am like literally scared of you. And when it's when it gets to that point, and honestly, like, I was watching these reels of you know, just like reels, shorts, whatever, all these short videos on social media. I can't remember which app I was even watching this on. And then I saw one of, you know, Kylie going into the whole Chloe, Tristan Jordan drama. Right. And again, it's like things like that for me. If you can do that to the people closest to you, what are you going to do to people that you don't like? I don't know what you're capable of anymore. I don't recognize you when I look at you. I don't know who you are. And I cannot be friends with someone like that. And to me, there were so many red flags, because when we would have other, like, discussions on broader things than just on what I believe, she's one of those people who always wants to play devil's advocate and who always wants to, what's the word? Defend things that are indefensible, you know, always wants to find a way to excuse some of the most horrible, terrible things that you could think of. And I'm just like, why?
The devil doesn't need an advocate.
The devil absolutely does not need an advocate. The devil is the devil, period. So, like, yeah, I think for me, honestly, I just had to take time to grieve. And I feel like for any form of, like, loss in your life, or even, like, just taking the time to grieve that loss is so important. And, you know, grief is not just about death, it's about loss in general. And yeah, I had to do that. And, you know, it's weird. And again, Apple does this super annoying thing where they just like pop up old pictures, you know, on your phone and be like, oh, yeah, this time last year, what? At dinner 6 months ago. And it's like, why are you showing me this?
And leave me alone.
Yeah. And it was hard at first, but I don't know. I think for me, when I know that I've done the right thing, that's easier.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, by the way, to anyone who's listening, I've done a very big purge in my life over the past 2 years. All this ex-friends, I'm like, go stay away in the corner. But I'm like, ex-friend number A, B, C, D. But right now, my circle right now is so strong and so tight. And I'm so proud of everybody that's in my life right now. And I'm proud to say, like, I am friends with you. Because you can't, like, call me up and tell me, oh, by the way, your friend said some crazy thing the other day about you. I'd be like, absolutely not. Like, I know who my friends are, and I know that is not their character. Because, like, you know, and that's something I could not say many years ago.
I would want to talk about the benefits of ending a friendship that is no longer serving either party. I think also let's maybe start with people who are on the receiving end, because I think we've talked about, you know, being on the other side where you're like, actually, I still want to see you, but not at my table. Someone who's been on the receiving end of someone telling them, I still want to see you, but not at my table. How do you think they should cope with the emotional fallout? And then we'll talk about the other perspective.
Yeah, I think I've been on both ends, and I think I've mentioned my experience with both ends like earlier on in the episode. I would say honestly, just know that what's meant for you won't miss you, and this comes with jobs, with opportunities, with relationships. Just the people that are meant to be in your life will be there. And my experience with friendships that have ended is all this negative energy has just like been removed from my life, and it's made space for new positive relationships to grow and blossom in my life. And I think again, for me, this is something that's come for me with age. It's so important to have relationships that are more interdependent than codependent. You cannot make one person your everything, and you cannot, or just like one friend group your entire life. There shouldn't be like anyone in your life, whether this is about a friend or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, that you're just like, without this person, I don't know who I am. I'm so lost. I'm so unhappy. You need to find your own independence, and you need to find other relationships where you can water each other and help each other grow. But you can also like be okay and be happy and you're without them.
I agree.
And I'd say just like find healthy outlets to express your emotions, whether that's like journaling or arts or, you know, sports, the gym, any other hobbies. Like, I find things that just help me so much release things. You know, I love like organizing things. So I would like, you know, just go on Pinterest and make so many like super specific Pinterest boards and just visualize it. And then I think find some perspective. Lastly, you know, speak to other people about it. I'm a huge fan of therapy. And I know therapy isn't always affordable or accessible to a lot of people. So just like talk to, if you can't or don't want to have a therapist, talk to other people, whether it's like your family or other friends, or just like find community. You know, you can find community like in religious organizations as well, in church. You can volunteer. You can just go out and speak to people around you, you know. Like if you're in Starbucks, just chat to the person that's behind you in the line. Literally, like just say hi to the person that's sat next to you on the tube. Just talk to other people, and just know that, like, I'm sorry, but this world is so big and it's so expensive, and people leaving your life can hurt so much in the moment, especially when you have those positive memories, like we've said, or when you know that they've really been there for you at times when you needed them, like you said about your friend, and I also said the same about my ex-friend. And it's like, I know it can hurt in the moment, so just give yourself that grieving space, but also just know that like the opportunities are endless for you, and be excited at like what your next few friendships could look like, about who you could meet, the things you could do, and just really try to get yourself like out of that grief and just start into being like, I wonder what my future looks like now.
I love all of those tips that you gave. I won't echo you, so I'll just like add on, kind of linked to the same thing. But I think I start by literally thanking God, like thank God. Because look, if someone's ended a friendship with you, that means that they don't have the capacity or space for you. If they kept you in while feeling like that, like you said, that resentment would have come out in other ways. And I genuinely feel you would have felt worse. Being friends with someone that you can tell is a bit off or they don't really like you makes you so insecure in that friendship, and it's just so, I feel so much more painful because I've experienced that, where you're like in a limbo. So I'm like, oh, thank God that you've ended. I mean, you don't want me around, and at least you gave me the courtesy of being straight up about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it's a bit being like, oh, thank God while you're crying, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm just be grateful that you're not in something where you're not somewhere where you're not necessarily wanted. I would say.
Oh my God, amen to that.
Because I honestly, it's another podcast episode entirely. But being friends with someone who doesn't actually want to be friends with you messes with your head so much, because they do so many mean, manipulative, like crazy stuff to you while still being like, I love you, you're my friend, when they don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know, either they're too scared to end it, or there's a sick part of them that likes to do that to people.
People like that, like power play.
Yeah. So be grateful that the person, your ex-friend, ended it with you when they weren't feeling it anymore. And that can be hard, but I agree with you in terms of what is meant for you is okay. But also, like, it is so much better to have a fulfilling friendship where, there is mutual love and respect, and you can grieve what you have lost, but I don't think you should let it hold you back from going to other friendships. And also, I don't necessarily think in every situation you should let it be a reflection on your character. Because sometimes it is, like in the examples of where we were saying fundamental differences, I think sometimes there is like, maybe take a step back and think about like, is there something I did here that I need to work on? But sometimes it could just be a thing of, like you said, good people. People can be good people and not be good for you. Don't necessarily take it so personally that you question yourself and it makes you insecure about your personality. Because I remember in one of my situations, it did that to me. Yeah. I started to think, am I a mean person? Do I say mean things about people? Am I like this shady person? Like, am I like all these things? Because each time I would say something, this person would feed it back to someone. And it wasn't only that girl. Like, anytime I would just, anything I said to her or anything that was even said was always turning into public knowledge. I have an episode about that, Beware of the Broadcast Trend. But anyway, so then it started to make me insecure and play on my mind. And it was in talking with my friends who are very close to me, or like other friends, like you said, talking to my sister, she's like, you're not. Like, don't let that, your interaction with that one person, or maybe something they didn't like about your character, then make it a whole reflection on the type of person you are, make you insecure about who you are. When you know you're not this, you're not necessarily hot. So I would say that even if someone's ended a friendship with you and it's because of a part of your personality, don't take it as a thing that you now need to change, that is wrong about you. Just take it as a difference in, you have that difference in character. And then I think moving on from that, what I would say about coping with emotional fallout, I would say surround yourself with the friends that love you and are still there because they can help uplift you when you're feeling that rejection. And I would also say, go out there, and I agree with you. Find community, find new friends. Yeah. No, I agree with everything you said, actually.
And I agree with everything you said as well. And, with one of the girls that I mentioned in this episode, I also had that thing where, like, her behavior and her response and just her lack of empathy also made me like question, like, why am I receiving this kind of energy from someone? Like, am I also not a good person to them? Am I not a good friend to them? And I think it's good to be able to reflect. And I reflected, I knew where I went wrong. I apologized to her and she was like, thanks for the apology. I didn't do anything wrong. You know, bye. Like, go to hell. I did nothing wrong. You're the problem. And I'm like, okay, mate. Like, that is not completely true, but if that's what you need to believe, you know,
good for you. Bye.
Good for you. Good for you. And I also think, like, I think what you said is so important. Don't let people like get into your head and mind twist you and make you feel like you're this awful person just because you guys are not compatible. Or you brought out the worst in them and they brought out the worst in you, because some people are just not meant for each other, you know?
Yeah, that's also a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, one sentence of advice is going to be to the person who is struggling to drift away, end a friendship with someone who, you know, they're not compatible anymore. The other advice to the person who, like your one sentence, your final sentence, because we said so much advice in this, your final sentence to the person who has had someone end a friendship with them. So, what are your 2 sentences? I can go first if you need a bit of time.
You can go first.
The person who is struggling to end it,
Okay,
end their friendship with someone who, you know, they shouldn't really be at your table anymore. My advice to you would be resentment is worse for your friendship than holding on to whatever positive memory it is. Because if you're already feeling like that, then there's clearly something that is bothering you. And then to the person who has had someone end a friendship with them, I would say take a step back, do your self reflection on whether there's things you need to work on in friendships, and then go out there. Do not limit yourself. You are worthy of love, respect, and friendship. And friendship is so important. So I don't think you should let it then close yourself off to future friendships. Rejection is so hard and it can make you think, actually, you know what? I don't want to be friends with anyone again. I don't want to trust anybody again. There are friendships and community out there that will love you and embrace you wholeheartedly. Just do your reflection, work on yourself, constantly improve. I'm constantly trying to improve as a friend. I feel like even this podcast helps me, you know, reflect on things I've done and also help me think, learn from the people I talk to, like with Arola today, on ways I could be a better friend and different tips. So that's my final 2 tips.
love that. My advice for the person wanting to end a friendship with someone is just accept that some people are only meant to be in your life for certain chapters and not for the whole story. And it's okay for people to come and go. You know, people are not possessions, and not everything needs to be a forever thing. Some things are still beautiful and meaningful, even if they only last for a certain period of time. And my advice for the person who, you know, who's basically had another friend break up with them is just know, like, rejection is redirection.
Ooh.
And this is God, the universe, whatever power or force you believe in, just showing you where you're really meant to go and where you're really going to be loved and accepted. And just know, like, I think for both of them as well, just like the company you keep is so reflective of who you are as a person. And you should only have friends who you'll be proud to say, this person is my friend, and who treat you with respect and compassion and consideration. Yeah.
Wow. I love both of those, especially the first one, when you were like, not everything has to be forever. I think that's such an important thing.
Yeah,
Friends
and
come and go.
Yeah, it's something I struggled with for so long, and I think because for me, I've always been a quality over quantity kind of person. I've never wanted to have a massive friend group. I love just having a very small circle with like a handful of friends that I'm so close to. But because those relationships are so intense and your lives are so intertwined, and you think they're going to be there forever, they're going to be the godmother to your kids, and they're going to be your bridesmaids, and you're going to be there for each other forever and ever and ever. And you realize, like, sometimes that's just not real life, and that's okay, you know?
It's okay. It's hard, but it's okay.
It's okay. You're going to be okay. That's like, you're going to be okay.
Okay.
I think my last piece of advice to everyone is you should learn how to be your own best friend.
Period.
Period. Period. Because I'm at the stage where I have so many amazing friends in my life, and I'm so grateful for all of them. Like, honestly, my birthday dinner was in February, and Tommyson was there, and you met a lot of my friends, and I just love everyone at that table with so much of my heart, and I'm so happy they're all in my life. And I think I'm finally at that stage where I've learned to have interdependent friendships, not codependent friendships. And I am my own best friend. I am the person that is there for me through all the highs and lows and sickness and health. And I'm learning to enjoy spending time alone and be so appreciative of myself and just love myself so hard. Relationships are important, but just also build on the relationship and the friendship you have with yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Because some people then stay friends with people because they're scared of that alone. Mm-hmm. So it's a good point. Okay, finish us off on a positive note. I like to ask my guests, what is something, it can be in friendship in general or in a specific friend that you just love?
Ooh.
Just one quick thing.
You go.
Okay, I can go. I love laughing with my friends. I'm a laugher in general. I laugh at everything. Everybody who knows me knows that. But it's not just my everyday laughing. When I'm laughing so hard with you that my cheeks hurt, I love them because laughter is such a big thing in my life. If you can make me laugh, like my cheeks are hurting, I'm constantly laughing around you. Yeah. I appreciate that, and I love that friendship so much. So yeah, that's mine.
That's so sweet. Yeah. I would say mine is, because my love language is quality time, I just love making special, beautiful memories with my friends and with people in my life, and being able to look back and just be like, remember when we did that? Remember when we went to this country together, or even just this like party, or even just when we like stayed in and had like a Netflix movie marathon on the couch and laughed so hard and drank food and had the best time together. I just love like being in the presence of people I love and making memories together.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Arola.
Thank you, babe.
This has been the Messy Friendship Lessons podcast.
Period.
If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow. Give us a rating. I would give this episode a 5, but I'll let you decide. If you want to send us any of your situations or an issue you want us to delve in and talk about with a guest, or if you listen to any of my guests and you're like, I want you to bring this person back and talk about this specific thing, DM us on Instagram. You can also send us voice messages for Spotify that we can play. Feel free to share. And yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me. You're the best host. This has been so much fun, and it's been like so insightful and just so therapeutic, to just sit down and have such a chill conversation. And because we've known each other our entire lives, this is just like such an easy, natural conversation to have.
I agree.
And it's taught me a lot actually about myself. I'm gonna like sit and do some journaling after this and reflect. Do some reflection. I'm all about that inner work.
Reflection is always great.
Period. Thank you for listening. We love you. Follow us and give us some amazing ratings and let us know your thoughts on this episode.
Yeah.
Kisses.
Perfect. Bye. Kisses.